Viewers, welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is a REST publication. By REST, we mean Real Estate Services and Transaction. And that is a subsidiary of RIS Academy. I have the privilege of being an estate surveyor and valuer. My name is Olalekan Abodering, the lead advisor, Olalekan Abodering Consulting, an estate firm. And I have the privilege of being the Director of Studies and Chief Executive of RIS Academy and RIS Publication. Thank you. In our last episode, we started discussion on what we call market feasibility for a project. This is an essential part of what should be in what we call business case for any project development, particularly if the project has to be properly initiated. And where we said that such business case should have what we call project appraiser, which will comprise part of what makes a project appraiser is project feasibility. And the focus, we have market feasibility and we have non-market feasibility. So during last episode, we started our discussion on market feasibility. And then we were on assessment of demand gap. That's where we stopped. So today we'll be discussing how do we assess demand gap? What do we mean by assessment of demand gap? Now, after delineating the market area, either primary market area with secondary market area, or primary trade area with a secondary trade area, after this delineation, we now have an area of focus, and we now need to identify our demand, the demand for the proposed project, the likely demand that we can have for the proposed project. So what do we mean by this? In the first instance, assessing demand here requires that we must assess the gap in terms of extent and in terms of nature. Assessing it in terms of nature means that we want to be sure it's not everybody in the population that will be qualified to patronize us, to buy the units you are building, to buy that duplex or that detached house. So in the first instance, we need to pre-qualify our population within the catchment area of our demand. Pre-qualifying this population will require that we want to pre-qualify them in terms of age. So we want to determine age-qualified population. Out of the age-qualified population, therefore, we want to determine income-qualified population. This is very, very important. Age-qualified, income-qualified population. Then from the two, particularly from the income-qualified population, we'll be able to determine what will be their functional requirements. What is their taste? What is their fashion? What type of functionality will they require in the projects? And by so doing, we'll be able to assess that whether our project meets their functional requirements or not. If not, the project's concept must be reviewed. It must meet their need. That is what we call strategic marketing. If it does not meet their need, it will suffer for it in the market. It will not sell fast, because they will have one complaint or the other. In fact, in real estate parlance, we will say it will suffer from what we call functional obsolescence, element of functional obsolescence. So, why identifying the demand gap in terms of the nature now? Let's say in the catchment area, you have 1 million population. Lagos, for example, the population is put at between 16 to 20 million, right? While United Nations is looking at an estimation of about 15.9 thereabouts, making approximately 16 million population for Lagos. Lagos state government is saying is well over 20 million. But let's even take the minimum, 15.9 million population in Lagos. The entire population will not be the demand. The entire population cannot underscore the demand for our project. And that is where demographic factors come in. As a matter of fact, it's the demographic factors that underscore demand for project. So that will require analyzing the population, determining who among these 15.9 are age-qualified population. Because if they are not age-qualified, whether because they are extremely too young, far below 15 years, or that they are older, extremely older, maybe I will be at comfort to take 75%, even though demographical analysis done by National Bureau of Statistics puts the age group at between 15 to 65 years of age. But in real estate parlance, People even at the age of 70, 75 years still procure property. They still buy property, right? So for purpose of our market, it can extend to 70, 75 years, right? So you take the bracket of, say, for convenience of dealing, let's say between 18 to 75 years. So that for 18, you are looking at the legality about it, because at 18, you have capacity to contract. Below 18, there might be claim that it's still a minor. But with 18 years of age, you have capacity to contract. So from demographical analysis, if I have to analyze, I would say 18 to 75 years. That is the age qualified. Among this age qualified, therefore, we will now determine income qualified. Yes, I know that in Nigeria, there could be some challenges, particularly in terms of availability of information, availability of data. But do you know that mere observing the style, the housing type in an environment, and the style of living in an environment, you will be able to determine their socio-economic characteristics. You'll be able to determine their socio-economic characteristics. And with that will be very informative about whether they are qualified population, whether qualified population for your project exists in that market or not, and to what extent. So this is how to assess demand gap. The best option is actually to use population data in terms of the number of population, in terms of the age group to determine age qualified, in terms of their income profile, income group to determine income qualified. Then their social characteristics to determine what will be their functional requirements. What nature of building will they need? What nature of accommodation details? How many units of rooms, for example, and so on. So all this come together, we give us an idea of what will be the extent of the demand. The extent of the demand. Okay? And this is talking about residential. It's a little different when talking about commercial. I will continue with that after this short break. Please don't go away.
Welcome to an environmentally friendly and sensitive development located in Omoli Phase 1 Estate, Ikeja, Lagos. Introducing Sherryville Manor.
For more enquiry, contact Olalakan Abodaran Consulting now. Thank you.
Welcome back. Before we left for the break, I said assessment of demand gap, when it is had to do with commercial, is a little different. Yes. Because in this case, our concern, particularly when you are talking about hotel, you are talking about mall, regional mall, you are looking at patronage. And I think this will equally extend to when you are talking about recreational centers. You are looking at patronage to determine your primary market area or trade area and your secondary market area or trade area. And in the like of that, we will equally now consider our demand gap. Now, in delineating the market area there, we will have to determine, because you must necessarily look at competition. Where does another mall exist? Where do you have another mall? What is the relationship between that mall and the location of the mall you want to do? And what is the capacity of that mall relative to the capacity of the one you want to do? These two together, the distance and the capacity of the mall, will be deployed into analysis, and you'll be able to determine the breaking point. And what do we mean by breaking point here? We mean at what point will a subscriber, a shopper, feel more comfortable to rather go to your mall at one end other than going to the other mall B at the other end. Or at what point will an average individual who want to do shopping, at what point will it get to that he would rather prefer to go to the other mall other than coming to your mall? A simple analogy about it is this. Take it to mean that an individual just conclude shopping in a mall at the location of your proposed mall, and he left. And he just realized later, after leaving, that he has forgotten to buy something, which is equally important. So he has decided that he wants to buy it. Now, buying it, you can equally get it in the other mall, which is in another location. So, relative to the journey he has made, will he still, at what point will he find it more convenient to go back to where he's coming from, which is the location of your own proposed mall, compared to, oh, okay, don't worry, I would rather buy it in the other mall there. That point is the breaking point. So even if you cannot do calculation, right, this analysis of the behavioral analysis of buyers or shoppers can guide us. And everybody, we are social animal. So you can even do a costly assessment of this, and you'll be able to determine the breaking point. That breaking point represents the primary market area or trade area for your mall. So within that trade area, we will now need to determine age qualified and income qualified for things that are sold or that are done or services rendered in the mall or in the recreation center and what have you. So these are very, very important. Now, when we identify our demand gap, we've equally been able to pre-qualify the gap to determine the nature of that gap. The social characteristics of the demand in terms of their nature, in terms of what we they need, what kind of functionality do they require, what type of building will they be comfortable with? Because, as a matter of fact, you won't hit a market that requires luxury apartments with basic flats. It will not sell. Just like you should not do luxury apartment in a location that can only support basic flats. So if these are properly done in the business case, particularly under market feasibility, it's not idea, it's not intuitions. It's what the market is saying, and you must see it right from the way the market is saying it. Don't juggle figures. Don't listen to your own mind. Listen to the findings. Observe the findings that you have seen, you have been able to draw from the market survey. Then let the findings speak. When whatever the finding says is what you will analyze. And that will guide the decision to invest or not to invest. So at this point, we would have been able to achieve assessing our demand and be able to come up with conclusion that whether there is need for that project there or not. Let me give you an example. Some years back, I have this client with about 20 hectares of land in Ikorodu, core of Ikorodu actually, solid land at the heart of Ikorodu. And his concept was, maybe we should do residential housing. I'm talking about 10 years ago. As at that time, he was saying, we can do residential housing comprising semi-detached duplexes, detached duplexes, terrace houses, and maybe some block of flats. And that we should have swimming pool, we should have gym, we should, all sorts of fantasies. But we came to realize that local market cannot actually support duplexes. As at that time, I don't know now. The Ikorodu market could not support duplexes because most homeowners in that area, you see them, the development area were more of bungalows then. Bungalows, some are even rear building. Without having to go into the market data of our population. Just driving around the terrain of that area, we are able to realize and to draw that these people, they are people that, what we call concept of satisficing. Let me just get a house on my head. Maybe the highest done might be block of 4 flats. But you have bungalows, most of them bungalows, 3-bedroom, or in some cases rear block. They leave the front for future developments. So it means that market then was not prime enough to accommodate the type of project concept our client was thinking about. And the question is, with the cost of achieving duplex and what would have been the selling price of duplex in Ikorodu, the value threshold which we will be discussing later, of Ikorodu could not support it. And again, logically stated, look at it that if anybody could afford buying a duplex in Ikorodu, he would rather prefer to be in the mainland here. Maybe in Ikeja, maybe in Ogba to us, other than going as far as Ikorodu to buy a house, and he could afford a duplex. So all these are saying that market for duplex does not exist there. Now, it could be that it has matured to be able to accommodate duplexes and detached houses. But as at that time, 10 years ago, emphatically, duplex market was was like, not available. So we must get this right while we are doing project initiation, so that we be sure that the market can support the project idea. If the market cannot support the project idea, it then means that the idea is the implication is that the project is not feasible. It does not satisfy market feasibility. So in terms of market feasibility, the project is not feasible. Having said that, that is about demand. The second thing, again, that we must assess is what we call assessment of competition. Assessment of competition here, we mean that we must assess supply. What do we mean by supply? We mean that, okay, we need to assess supply so that we know what others are doing. Because the question here is, why will anybody patronize you? Why will anybody buy your units, your flats, your duplex, and not the one from the other developer? So for you to enter into the market and be able to survive in the market, in the first instance, it's important to be able to meet up with the standard in that market. What others are doing, you don't do anything less. So you must know what they are doing. What type of building are they developing? What are the facilities in the building? What services do they provide? What is the space area? The design, how contemporary? All this must be identified. Then, when you identify that competition, the next strategy is to edge competition. You must edge competition. That's when people will come to you. Edging competition therefore implies that what? You introduce some unique selling propositions into your project design and the delivery. Unique selling propositions that will therefore attract others or market to you other than to your competitor. So this is very, very important that we must have unique selling propositions. This unique selling proposition can be in terms of sizes of your bedroom. It can equally be just little premium. Just add a little premium into what others are doing. Add a little premium. Introduce new features to spice it. If they are providing three, like I give you an example. I did one in normally phase 1, residential. That's normally phase 1. Detached houses. The first thing is that while the market is there, you can have semi-detached, you can have terrace, you can have detached houses. We choose to do detached houses because the market, when we did our survey, we realized that the market can support detached houses more than semi-detached or terrace houses. Reason being that the rate of market absorption for detached houses was very, very high. That we found out in our market survey. And again, because of that keen demand for detached houses, there is always a margin of premium in terms of price, in terms of the value threshold for detached houses than for semi-detached or for duplexes. I mean, for terraces. So we did that. And again, measuring the competition, we realized that others were providing for 2 cars, car space. So in our own case, what did we do? We tried to introduce minimum of 3 car spaces. And I tell you, before we finished, just few units, before we finished, after roofing, plastering going on, all the units were sold. Who says there is no market? There is. But ensure that your product is marketable, right from design. In fact, right from conceptualizing the idea, it must be marketable. The location must be marketable. The design must be marketable, must be contemporary, must be functional. This is how to hedge competition. This is how to introduce unique selling propositions. You may equally introduce some smartness into your design, smart building fittings that we had just a little to your cost, but will boost your value. This is very, very important. So we must assess competition. Know what others are doing. Don't just go there and say this is the way you want it to be done. You are not the one to buy it, you know. It's the market that will place price on it. So what is the position in the market, you must know. And ensure that your design concept fits into what is in position, what is in the market, and equally had premium to it. This premium headroom, for example, is becoming a thing of concern now. People don't do short headroom 2.6, 2.7 headroom anymore. I mean, effective space between your finished floor and your ceiling, 2.6, 2.7. No. This time around, high headroom, clear headroom, right? This, and when you say luxury, what makes a luxury home? Space and finishing. So we must put this at the back of our mind. Then when we introduce some unique features into it, in terms of smart fittings, all this will help. You're right. In terms of space arrangements, all this will help. In terms of functionality, you know, privacy, there are a lot of just design solutions. Let me just stop there by saying design solutions. You know, you put in design solutions, and that will hedge competition for you without unnecessarily increasing your costs. Funny enough. Now, to round up this episode, let me quickly mention that while you have assessed your demand and you have assessed your competition, you must not go beyond the value threshold in the market. Value threshold here, we mean it will be an indication of probable selling prices for your units. So you must measure the market. Part of your market survey, therefore, will be what are the prices? What's the prevailing prices? Or what are the prevailing prices that people are buying or are selling? And make sure that your concept fits into the prevailing prices. Yes, when you introduce some premium features into your concept, it might attract a little premium, but don't be too optimistic about it. As a matter of fact, in appraiser, you have to be conservative when it has to do with your inflow, your expectations. If it now turns to be more, the better. So that you manage, right from where you are conceptualizing, you're already managing your downside risk. And the prospect of upside risk can be there. It's a prospect. Right? So value threshold is part of what you pay attention to when you are doing market feasibility, and then you will derive that from market survey and analysis and ensure that, okay, if we deliver this project, we can sell at this and is within the region of prices in the market. If it goes far beyond that, your project will experience void, and that will be a delay, and that is a threat. Void in real estate appraiser is a risk. On this note, dear viewers, I look forward to meeting you in our next episode when we will start discussion on what we call non-market feasibility. Thank you.